So you want to delete your throttle body heater. Well, first of all, you're trying to figure out what the heck is a throttle body heater. See those little two lines on there, that guy and that guy? And then if you tuck over here, right there and there, those two little guys. Those lines are, I guess you could say, secondary coolant lines from the main coolant loop. And their purpose is exactly what I'm calling it. They're heaters. They're there to, in very cold climate, rapidly heat up the throttle bodies. The throttle bodies are drive-by-wire. And inside the throttle body is a little butterfly valve that opens and closes. I don't know if the grease or gunk or anything over time, condensation or whatever inside the throttle body, then after you park the car, temperatures drop and it freezes or whatever. So the heater probably delays that action, or maybe at startup when it starts warming up, that coolant comes in at a hotter temperature because it's engine temp. That is an auxiliary metal part hanging off a plastic manifold, so it's insulated away from the engine. But eventually the water temp will rise. These auxiliary ports will pass warm coolant, get to the throttle bodies, and warm them up for proper operation. The OGs remember I did this back in my G, but I did a reroute. I didn't pull out the spider. And this thing back here is what I'm calling the spider. It's a network of hard lines and soft lines that carry vacuum pressure. It also carries some coolant between the throttle bodies and vacuum between the manifold sides. When I was preparing for this video and just looking at it, I was surprised as heck that these Z's have all this real estate back here. Because once again, for the G37 World, there's no space back there. It's a pain in the butt to get that spider out, but it's going to be really easy. We got some 5/8 hose. I got it from Amazon. I'm also waiting on a Y fitting. That's supposed to be delivered sometime today from Amazon also. So we're DIYing our own kit to delete those heater hoses and clean up the back there a little bit. You can technically do this as is on the car. Just move some stuff out of the way, get to the lines, get to the parts back there. But I'm also going to do the valve covers, so I'm going to be able to take the manifold off and give you guys a better look of what's going on. So stand by. Let's go get this manifold off. So hold on to your knickers. Is that a boomer thing? I don't know what the new kids would say you're holding on to. I don't know. Here we can get a really good view of the coolant hoses that's going to the throttle bodies. Let's start in the back. In the back here, we have the supply. So down here, this guy down here, that guy is the supply, and he comes up into the spider, into this hose, into the metal here, and from there, it runs to the left. So if you look at the diagram, I'll put it in the corner, it'll run to the left, come inside to the throttle body. The throttle body will then output, goes back into the spider, and the spider wraps around to this output here, and that feeds this throttle body, and then it rejoins the loop down in here. So that's for the flow of the coolant. There's also a vacuum line on the spider. Now, to figure out Where the vacuum is getting its supply is my question, because following the diagram, it wasn't easy to see. We have this module here, I think it's some HVAC module. This is a vacuum line here, and the top spider line is a vacuum line that goes behind the throttle bodies. And you can see here is the supply and the return for the coolant. Here is for the vacuum. I just don't see where the vacuum is getting its, oh, right here. So the evap system, that's what it is, evap system. So evap comes in to the module, and then from the evap, it's going into this output right here. Come on, camera, focus. Where's my finger? This output right here, this output's going into the top spider, and that's pulling vacuum here and here. So the evap, it's like the gas overflow. So all those gas fumes and stuff like that's getting pulled back into the manifold. I think that's right. Put in the comments. That's what it's supposed to be. So like the evap canister, the charcoal and stuff like that, that's fuel vapor and stuff like that. That instead of just off gas into the atmosphere, it's getting pulled back into the system. So that's what that is. Ignore the mess. Like I say, this is kind of 2-for-1 video, doing the valve covers at the same time, but it also allows a better view of what we're doing here. Since we're bypassing that coolant passage that normally goes to the throttle body, loops back around into this throttle body, then back into the return, we're just gonna, some people like to plug it. They plug this side and they plug that side. We're just gonna loop it over. So it's just gonna, instead of going through that long way, we're just going to take the freeway, the expressway, and just come back here. That way we're not really stopping any flow. We're just redirecting the river. You know what I'm saying? So we take our 5/16 hose, and in the back here, where we got, get the light, where the feed is right there, we're going to put it on that side, and then the return is right here. I'm going to try and see. My helper's gone, so I can't really hold everything. I'm going to try and see if I could put these spring clips on the Amazon hose I got over there. That would be cool to be able to utilize that.
This is super frustration, guys. You know me, I love my production quality and I try my best. But these next following clips, for some reason, have zero audio. So I'm going to have to proceed the video with voiceovers. Please bear with me. Don't click away. Some good information's coming up. With that said, let's continue with this one. In this part, I'm illustrating where we did the loop over line from the back output back into the input of the main line, discussing, I believe it was 23 inches long. And we used the spring clips. It worked really great on the hose I bought for the kit. Now let's take a look at the actual spider behind the manifold. It's really good to have the manifold off so you could see all the pieces properly instead of having to fight and stick a camera back there. So going over the flow, that is the input of the water pipe that we looped, goes around to the front throttle body on the passenger side, loops back to the driver's side, and then the driver's side, as I showed before, outputs into the main loop. So that's the coolant flow, the coolant portion off there. Now let's take a quick look at the vacuum portion. This top port, that's for the brake master cylinder, the vacuum reference for it. The bottom one is actually the PCV input to the manifolds. Go into that bottom port. The ugly, nasty, oil-filled gases. Then these two ports on the top here, there's a vacuum lines. These vacuum lines tee off into that little solenoid on top. That's for the evap canister. That solenoid controls fuel gases that's coming from the charcoal canister and pulls it into the manifold to be combust and stuff like that. All that fun loving emissions stuff. To get the spider off, there's two 10mm bolts. One is on the left and the other one's hidden a little bit on the right side behind this one hose. Here's the little Y brass fitting. I was waiting the whole day for Amazon to deliver. Finally they delivered it, so let's get these hoses set up. Salvaging some of these constant tension clamps, these OEM ones, they're really a pain in the butt to use, but they work really well. Salvage 4 of them, and we're going to use it on the DIY kit we're putting together. We're using the top hose, attaching the Y, so it kind of works like the factory T. Then we're going to take the hose and measure the right side, which is the passenger side. That worked out to be around 10.5 inches. The spring clamps really worked well on the hose we got. Move them onto the barb fin. It locked in really nice and tight. There's no slippage, no leakage. On the left side here, we use a piece that was 14 inches long. And take a look at it. Everything fits well, seats well, positioned properly. I'm really happy how this came out as a DIY kit. And just for a quick reference, once again, here is the factory stuff with all those lines just crisscrossing each other, looping around and stuff. And we just, our DIY kit for maybe less than $20 because we had, I believe, over 6 feet of hose left over. We bought a 10-foot hose kit, and all that stuff is going to be down in the description. I'll have a link to the hose we use, have a link to the barb fitting, so if you want to follow this along, you can. It worked out really well, very happy with this project.
Sorry about the audio, guys, but let me know what you think in the comments. Getting rid of the spider to go ahead and take away that heater from heating up those throttle bodies. It's a big step. Also, it just looks much cleaner. If you look under here, on this side, you see nothing, and probably on top. And then from the other side, just no lines, just less clutter. And in the back here, there's so much space back there. I'm probably just going to work on putting a, I don't know, a catch cam back there or something, custom. I don't know. But let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget, if you did appreciate the video and you learned something, please share, comment, subscribe. Help with some engagement, help with the channel growth. And then I guess I think I'm done with maintenance. Yeah, so you can see the red valve cover, so I'm hoping I can start modding the car to get onto the track. So until then, with that bombshell, let's go ahead and end it there. And once again, thanks for everything, and you all take it easy.